Ooh, good morning, good evening, everybody. Oh, my camera's a little bit off there. Okay, there we go. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? We're back from Thailand. Hello to Muff with Tentacle in the chat already. Good to see you here. So yes, we're here. We're back. As you may know, if you've been following Scrabble over the past week or so, there was a major tournament held in Bangkok, Thailand last week. A huge 4-day event, 36 games. Many of the top 100 players in the world are playing in this event. And yeah, I was also part of it. I am actually going to be going through some of the games that I played through, that I played in that event. I have my scorecard here. I have my scorecard. We were given a scorecard here, and I have all of my score sheets. Some of which I have analyzed in more detail than others, but they are all here. So yeah, it was actually just as a quick, go over. This is actually a really, really good event. As always, Michael Tang organizes these events, and it's one of the best that is around. It is definitely something that a tournament that I would definitely recommend that you guys play in if you haven't done so already. As I said, this one was held in Bangkok. The next event will actually be held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in June 2028. So if you already had FOMO and wanted to get involved, and the next one you can. So that would be something that you guys can do. And Michael was actually looking for 1,000 entrants for the next one. So plenty of space for you guys to get involved. But I'm sure a lot of those spaces will get snapped up very early on. So yeah, it's a general synopsis of the tournament. Again, 36 games in this tournament. 5 divisions. So there's a Premier Division, that's the top one, and then there was divisions 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all the divisions from 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all separated by about 150-ish Wesper rating points. So if you kind of divide that by about 80 people within that rating kind of band, anyone could be anybody in any division. So the divisions are always very competitive. There's not going to be any real clear-cut favorites in wherever you look. So that was that. But yeah, it was actually David Elder from Australia that ended up winning the tournament with a game to spare. So well done to him. He ends up winning the $10,000 US top prize. Josh Castellano was second, and Harshan Lamabadasaria was in third place. So yeah, those were the top 3 finishers. It was pretty interesting also because the top 3 finishers weren't actually all that near the top halfway through the tournament. So if you kind of look at the standings after 20 rounds, I think David and Josh were kind of in the mid-teens in terms of where the standing was, and I think Harsham was maybe even lower than that. So all three of those players had a good, nice run of wins in the second half of the tournament. As for me, I didn't quite. Well, I say I didn't quite do so well. Definitely didn't do as well as those guys. Finished in 20th place overall out of 88 players, which again isn't too bad. We also have to temper expectations a little bit because in terms of Wesper rating, I was actually the 31st seed. So I was actually kind of near the middle of the pack in terms of Wesper ratings, and I finished 11 places above my seeding. So I guess that was a good thing. My Wesper rating did increase by a little bit as well, not by much, but I think 9 points or so. But yeah, that's still a green tick in the right direction, I guess. So yeah, there was definitely a few games that I played that I probably should have done better. There were some games that I managed to steal somehow, as always in a 36-game event. There will be some games like that, but there were definitely maybe 2 or 3 games that I definitely should have just won straight out, and finishing on 20 wins, and 20 wins and 16 losses puts me in 20th place. I would need to finish 22 wins or so to get into the top 10. So I felt like I probably did have an opportunity to probably get into the top 10 based on that. So I probably should have done a bit better than that. But, can't win them all, I guess. Good morning to Nomi Nemo. Good to see you here. A person that I actually also met for the first time at this tournament as well. So very nice to meet you in person. We actually had a really cool game that we played as well. Very close game, which Nemo did beat me in, so I'm not going to talk about it. In all fairness, it's not going to be one of the ones that I was actually going to analyze today in front of you guys. But it was a really cool game, especially with Nomi Nemo. I did get into a very early lead, pretty solid early lead actually, and then he got a 9-timer against me. I think maybe 4 people got 9 timers against me, and I didn't get 1 9-timer whatsoever in the tournament, which is kind of a bit of a miracle that my spread was like 1100 still, despite that. But yeah, looking for hopefully more more really cool games with you, Nomi Nemo, in the future as well. Really strong player. So yeah, it was nice meeting you in person. Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Likewise too. Likewise. Okay, so I guess what we can do is start talking about the games that we're actually going to analyze today. I've got about 6 games that we can literally go through. I'm not going to go through like the blowout wins or the blowout losses. It's not really that interesting, I guess. There were a bunch of games where both players, me and my opponent, got over 500 points or had a combined score of over 1,000 points. There might be there's going to be a few of those that I'm going to analyze today that are like that, but I'm going to try and find some of the more interesting games that were close to kind of share with you tonight. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. Oh, hello to Ancient Cosmographer and the Raid. Hope you guys had a nice stream. I literally just started my stream as well. Where's Infinity Words? Yeah, there's no Infinity Words today, unfortunately. I'm going to be analyzing some games. So yeah, a bit more interesting, dull, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Or whichever way you you guys want to do. But yeah, I was just saying about introducing about the introduction about the Causeway Scrabble challenge that happened over the week. And I have my games and my scorecard here. And we're going to be going through maybe 6 games or so if we can have time to do that. So why don't we kind of talk about the tournament that I had? So it was a bit of a rough start. I had a bit of a rough tournament for a lot of the time. I don't know how they paired the first round of players. I'm not really quite sure. But my first round opponent was Dave Weekend. So I'm like, okay, it's been a while since I was paired against Dave Weekend in round 1 of any event. Despite both of us being in the top half, I guess, or close enough to the top third of the seedings. Thought they might be like putting the top half with the bottom half or something, but oh well. If you want to win a tournament like this, you're gonna have to beat the best. But yeah, it was actually a pretty close game against Dave. Ended up losing by 46 points. So 0-1. And actually, the first game we're going to analyze is actually going to be game 2 against Josh Castellano, who, as I said earlier, finished in 2nd place. And yeah, really strong performance from him. Very close game. So I think what we'll do is move over to the screen here. Okay. So I'm going to kind of talk about this game that happened with Josh. Okay, so this is actually my first rack. Josh actually went first. He exchanged 2. Wasn't sure if I should play short here with like EKE and set up my D hook, but felt like I probably should just go for the highest equity play, which actually was Kenti. So I did that. That was my first move. Josh then actually bingos with Arabise. Okay. Oh wait, I need to change these settings set to NWL. No wonder it came up with that. Okay. No wonder it was like, what is that word? Okay. Arabise. Any thoughts on keened or kented? I just kind of like keeping the D hook for Kente. I think the ED ending it or combination is also very strong. It is 4 extra points though, so could be good, and also makes it a bit more difficult to play a bingo. But yeah, maybe so. There actually wasn't that much difference in it, and I think Kente actually was the best play overall. Okay, so this was my next rack here. I had Diffuser and Refused. I was thinking of playing Diffuser, Refuse, or Refused underneath here to kind of corner off the board a bit and don't give anything away. But then I saw the highest scoring play available through the K, which was Fusked. 82 points, so I played that instead. So that was what I did. That was the best play. Josh then plays Hid down here. My next move was actually a pretty standard play here as well. It's simply just playing Cat QAT on the triple. Top move again. Oh, actually, let me get the Infinity Words working just in the background, so that way you can do the define stuff. Sorry, I forgot that I need to do that. Just so things still keep moving, or you guys can still do stuff. Wait, what's happening here? Okay. Is it working? Not sure if it's actually loading up or not. Hi to my wife also. Got to say hello to you. She's actually in St. Louis right now, so not in the house. Why is my Finiware's not loading up? Oh, there it is. Okay, it should be, yeah, now it's loaded. Now it's up again. So now you can type it out and should be okay now. Let me just do it for you. My bad. There you go. Okay. So that's the things are working now. There you go. Okay, so he played Hid, I played Cat, and then he ends up bingoing with this rack. There are a few different options. I think there are only 2 options available. He picks the best one, or at least the least dangerous one of Crostini through the T. So there's that. And then yeah, I didn't have particularly good tiles here on the next one. Had this rack here, 2 Gs and 2 Is. Was actually going to play something like Glim next to Fusgood if Crostini wasn't played, but I think Ming was actually a strong candidate play here, especially with the J and the Z unseen. Then I think it was probably wise to take that spot. Okay, so the next move. Wait, I can't even read my handwriting. 1 second. 1 second, everybody. Let me just have a look at what the word was, because I don't remember what I did. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it was actually Wop here. Josh. The next rack was this. I actually played Glory pretty quickly, which is interesting because actually Gurley was slightly better. Just keeping an OR rather than IR is actually a better combination than IR, so might have played it a little bit too fast, but Glory was not quite the best play, but very, very close to it. And then Josh plays Davit down here for 33. Okay, so I'm now slightly behind. After 6 turns, it's my turn again. I do have what do I have here? I have this rack. Not too bad here. A few options. I'll be either playing Fix or Fox next to Hid. End up playing Fox. So one of the best players available. All good. Then he plays Qlax onto the axe and Hide. And then I have this rack. Which again, on this board, you're not really expecting too much, but there is a bingo with this rack, and it does play in one place, and it's Timoral, 65 points. I play it, he does hold and then lets it go, so puts me into the lead on a board that's very tight now, so I'm in pretty good shape. And then you place Gently through the L. And not only did I just do go into the lead, but I also draw the blank. One of my opponents played Timoral against me. Oh, got that mixed up with Tamaral, I guess, with 3 A's. Yeah, it can happen. There's a lot of words like that that are kind of similar, or similar spelling, or similar sounding. So yeah, this was actually a very interesting move here, because I have the blank, and I have the A and the E and an N. I've got some good tiles here, and this kind of combination with the A, like anything A, T, E, or something like that, actually goes really well on this board. And I have the J and the P and an N, which kind of don't go too well. So I wasn't quite sure what to do, because I'm now 17 points in front. I could actually just play Raj and try and maximize my score. I'll get 57 points for it. on an almost dead board, but keeping E and NP probably isn't the best. And I'm also opening up the triple. So I didn't want to do that either. I wanted to try and go for another bingo. And my train of thought was that if I just play jaw here, I could draw into a lot of bingos that play next to Timorau. Like an I or a T gives me pin 8, or an E gives me pen 8 as well. So a lot of letters actually do give me something. I guess the O also gives me things too. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, actually, maybe the O doesn't give me anything. Yeah, maybe not. But in any case, a bunch of letters do give me things. But actually, playing jaw was probably not the best play. Actually, just playing Jane, just playing a simple plain Jane move of Jane for 35 points, putting me 50 points in front. And actually, this does kind of block up the board a fair bit, because this is not easy to bingo onto, and it kind of encourages your opponent to play into open space, which would then give me more floating tiles to play a bingo with my blank. So it kind of entices your opponent to kind of come out and play, really, by doing that. And actually, one of the other really good plays that Macondo liked was actually just playing Jun, which kind of looks a bit weird because Jaw scores 6 points more, but you're actually sacrificing 6 points to play off an N. But the leave of AENP blank is probably almost optimal in this spot. So arguably that also should be in the conversation for one of the best players available here as well. So maybe I made a slight error here by playing Jaw, but I also didn't necessarily want things to happen on this side of the board as well. Jaw kind of just stops a lot of things. But yeah, maybe I should have just kind of focused on myself and just played Jane and not worried about it. So that was a bit of a mistake here. Nonetheless, I'm still about 40 points in front. And then Josh plays Ab in the top corner, which actually does block the floating tiles. And then because I fished off one tile, I had this, and then I actually ended up drawing the W, which is actually one of the tiles that I obviously did not want. So then now I'm kind of in a spot where, do I actually try and go for bingo again, or do I try and just get a bunch of score here? There's a few different options available. I actually decided to play Pwn for 19 points, which is not necessarily something that the engines actually wanted me to do. Similar to the previous move, it actually just wanted me to play Wayne for 27 points. It actually just blocks a lot of stuff. NP blank still very strong. Again, Pwn is not that bad, but it is quite a little bit off in terms of win percentage. So I'm hemorrhaging a little bit there, not playing the optimal play. This does also kind of obstruct this lane a little bit, but it also gives a few opportunities next to Pwn. So it's doesn't really do enough. I think it doesn't score enough as well, despite the leave. So maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive or a bit more greedy with this move, but I decided to play Pwn here. And then Josh has a really nice find here. He plays Evo in between David and Timorau, which is nice, very nice play. And And to go with my AEN blank, I drew very, very nicely here. I actually drew ORS. That was about as good as I could hope for. Here. Good evening to Itchite as well. Saying how jet lagged are you out of 10? I'm actually not jet lagged at all right now. As soon as the tournament ended, I actually we kind of had dinner and then we went to the airport. We started heading home. So I've actually been home for about 2 days now. And yeah, we were a little bit jet lagged yesterday, but as of today, we're not really. No, it's not really that bad. I mean, our kids also went to camp today, and yeah, we're just taking it easy for another day. And we played pickleball early this morning. Yes, we're kind of back on the right schedule now, so we're all good. But as with this move, there's not all that many places to go. You really only have this spot here in column K, and then now it really depends on what you want to play. So there are a few options that fit there. Item also does not take an S, so that's something notable for this move. Which is also notable because I would have had like Serrano here if Josh did not play Evo in that spot, which would have been like almost 80, 90 points or so, and would have made my job a lot easier in terms of winning this game. But in any case, I actually do have some bingos here, but they're not particularly high scoring. So what I ended up playing was actually Senora for 69. I figured it might be a bit more difficult to play here, but in all complete honesty, I actually didn't see Oarsman or Earcons. I didn't see either one of those, and you will see shortly that this is actually a pretty big mistake, because this will allow Josh to come back. Because I thought that if I do Senora here, there's not really anywhere to go now. Like, the P is really the only spot, and it does. If you have the Z, maybe, then you can actually score a lot of points. Corneas looks very good defensively, yes. There's a few other things available, yeah, like Corneas, or yeah, that actually kind of blocks off a lot of things. Yeah, so you need bingo starting with like SO, SH, something like that, TOTH, something like that to kind of fit something in, and it does make it very difficult to play here. But taking the 2 extra points actually was slightly better here. You're gonna see if I simulate, if I actually get rid of, let me get rid of all these other non-bingo things. Let's see what it says. So it does like Corneas here because it's very defensive, and it is actually pretty difficult to play across here unless you have something like Ezine. But you do need specific tiles there, although there are a lot of E's and I's still left, so it is possible. But you can't necessarily stop everything from happening. But yes, Sonora here, you can see, not the best option. So, what actually happened was that I played this. I'm obviously looking pretty good here. I'm actually now... what, 79 points in front, and there's only 3 tiles in the bag. The problem here is that Josh has the Z and he has the blank, and he plays the word puzzle up here, and completely wipes out in the lead, and now I'm only 1 point in front. And the tiles that I draw are not particularly good either. This is my draw. There's A, E, E, H, T left in the bag. And I do have a little bit of time to think about this. I do have about, what, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. So I was kind of wondering what to do here. And again, a good starting point is actually to figure out if your opponent has any outplays or any extremely high scoring plays. So I did see things like HAE here, which would score, I don't know, 25 or so, which again on this board is quite a lot. Nothing down here, nothing here. He could play something like Wrath here as well, which is about 27. Until I looked at the L and was like, Lathy, is that a word? I actually couldn't remember if Lathy was a word or not. So I was like, I think Lathies is good, but I might be getting that mixed up with Lethy, Lethie, and I wasn't quite sure. And then I'm looking at my letters and I'm like, oh man, there's not much I can do here. And I was just trying to find some kind of way to go out into. And Lethy as well, as because Margot has put in there too. So there are a bunch of other words that, again, very similar sounding, very similar kind of looking word, so to speak. And I wasn't 100% sure if Lathy was good. And it got to the point where I actually just was like, I'm actually like 80% sure it's a word. And I don't necessarily want to block it and then just lose because I blocked it. So what I ended up doing was I ended up playing Lloyd here, having Ion to go out with either Lino or Ions here. So actually what happened was that I played Lloyd, and then he plays, obviously he finds Lathy, and I challenge it. So he gets an extra 5 points because it is a good word. And then he ends up winning the game at the death. 460 to 448 is a 12-point loss. However, if we kind of rewind here and we kind of ask the championship player what the best move is, you can see there is actually just one winning play, and it's obviously to block Lathy, and it's to play Oil here. So this does the job of blocking Lathy first and foremost. He doesn't actually have any outplay. You also do need to be careful about not giving away ETH, E-A-T-H-E, as an outplay as well. So technically my play of Lloyd would have given away ETH next to it as well, E-A-T-H-E, which also I think would have won. But what the combination, the way that I would win this game is that I would play Oil. And then he would have to take, I think he would have to take his highest scoring play of Wrath here. So the scores now, I'm now 13 points behind, and he has 1 E on his rack. And the only way I can win is to win by 1 point, because Oil also sets up Zonoid for 12 points to take me to a 1-point deficit before countback, and then I win by 1 point. I win by 1 point, and with this combination of moves. So it's kind of a very very elaborate endgame, which again I think this is something that I wanted to talk about. I think this might have been the only game where I just kind of blew the endgame completely. Technically there might have been another one where I played against Wasim later on in the stream, later on in day 3 or something, and I lost on because I went over time. Do I win if Josh blocks Zonoid? That's a good question. So I guess the best thing you could do is probably just play HAE, maybe? Let's see. So HAE is probably the next thing that can be done. So now he is not 13 points in front, he's only 12 points in front. And then I actually have Nodi to go out for 9 points. But instead, he actually has 2 tiles on his rack. And so look, you can see this is the accurate score here. At this stage, I'm now 11 points behind. I play Nodi, and then I win by 2 points instead. So Nodi is 9 plus 2 plus 4 is 13. So actually there was no way that he can win if I played Oil. I just needed to find Oil and be kind of alert enough that Zonoid then kind of gives me like a bit of a boost in terms of an outplay, that the O is there, and then it gives me another spot to go out, and just be aware of that. So yeah, that was kind of a difficult, I say it's kind of a difficult endgame to work out. I say difficult because I didn't work it out in real time. Maybe you guys would have worked it out, but it does say it does mean that I just need to block Lathy, and Oil seems like probably the most obvious play to do that. Does AE below Zoa score enough? I don't think so, because the Z in Zoa is also a blank. So any outplay for me with my rack is gonna win, I believe. So let me put it in for you. Wait, so Oil, and then wait a minute, 1 second. So if we put AE here instead, I do have some. Oh, that's a good, interesting point here. I do have some options here. Oh, actually, yeah. So I do have ways to win with Nod or Nid underneath Culex. I think that outruns anything that he has. So I don't think he can really, because he has got rid of 2 of his vows, it actually does become a little bit more difficult for Josh to go out. Yes, because I think Het here maybe is probably his highest scoring outplay, which is 19, and I got 20 with this. So he ends up being 4 points behind, and then I only have 1 tile left, so then he loses by 2 in that situation also. So yeah, I suck. I should have found... I had a way to win this. Again, the margin for error was very low because obviously there's only 1 winning play. I just never even thought about any word that plays underneath puzzle. I was too busy thinking, I don't know if Lathy is a word. I'm not sure if it is a word. And maybe I should have just taken the extra, taken the minute to kind of just look at plays that play underneath puzzle just in case and see if I can win that way as well. But it does get a little convoluted again, as you can see, with maybe 2 or 3 other candidate plays, and going down the tree diagram of all the different ways you can go. Doing that in 5 or 6 minutes just in general is pretty difficult to do. So yeah, ended up losing that game by 12 points. So going down to 0-2 now. That was round number 2. There were bits of there was a bit of a kerfuffle with the QR codes on day 1. So after game number 3, we played yet another American player, Mike Barron, who's a veteran player here, but he is not necessarily, he hasn't been playing Collins for very long, so I did beat him by 229 points. So now I'm now 1-2 with a very nice spread. So because the QR codes thing was not doing too good, we actually had lunch after game 3 instead of game 4. And then game 4, I actually had a bye. The Nigerian Timmy Doko was actually stuck in transit or an airport, or missed a flight or something. Was still going to play in the tournament, but he had not arrived by that point. He did arrive later on that day. I think he missed 6 games in total overall. But that was game number 4, so I got a 100-point win with that. game number 5, I played one of the best players who have not won the World Championship yet, in the Thai player Komon. And I managed to get pretty lucky. I did actually beat him by 24 points. It's actually probably like maybe the second or third time I've ever beaten him in like out of like 12 times or something. But yeah, I got a little bit lucky that I managed to beat him. I got a bingo in right at the end, and he got the Q, so won by 24. So now 3-2 with a plus 295 spread. And then I'm playing against one of the few females in the Premier Division, Sujana Somaseka from India, which was a little bit curious because I played Heresies in the first move with 3 E's and 2 S's, and I got a challenge. And then 2 moves later, I played the word budgie, B-U-D-G-I-E, which is a pretty normal word, I would say. It's kind of short for like budgerigar, like the bird. But she challenged that also, so I'm kind of like, this is a bit weird. But at the same time, she played really well. She played Nellies for 73, had Ionizers with a Z for 84. She also played Stanine, again, very easy, relatively easy bingo for 73. Even you, I know that word, yeah. I mean, most of you should know this word, but you know. It's used in some dialects, but not others. I mean, it's also like a, I guess it's a 6-letter word. If you're just looking purely on Scrabble merit, budgie, if you're not sure of budgies, whether it's a Y or an IE, then, you know, 5 points is not really much anyway. The problem also with this game is that I did miss a bingo on move 4. I played Freedom for 52 as a 4-timer, but I actually missed the word Pettiform. There's a floating I on the board. And I didn't see Pettiform. It would have been like another 20 extra points, so that was a mistake on my part. I did later bingo with Tapering. But after her standing, it was a bit annoying because the S was a blank, so she had A-E-I-N-N-T blank. And there were, I think, maybe 5 bingos that would have fit. And all I needed was one of the N's to be put in space. So something like Inanist or something like that. Or Tannies, where like one of the first like 3 letters needed to be one of the N's for me to play Intarsia. And Intarsia is one of those racks where if you don't have the right floating tile, then your rack is kind of garbage. So she ends up picking I think there's only one move that out of that rack where the N, neither N is in the first three letters of the move, and it's Stanion. So she picked the right one overall. She ends up putting that blank, the S, in the 9-timer lane too. But it worked out for her. My Intarsia ended up going in flames, and I ended up just having to play an 18-point move. And it ended up becoming a game where who draws the axe? And she draws the axe straight away and gets 52 points. And I couldn't bingo after that. So I ended up losing by 51. So now 3-3 plus 244. Game 7, I'm playing against Canadian expert player Dean Saldana, who I actually play on Scrabble Go pretty much all the time. So I'm very aware of how good he is. And I got very lucky here, despite the fact that Dean started off with Outsang as a bingo. I end up having dew point, one short of the triple, at a time when he actually had no vowels. So then I draw an S, hook dew points, gets 53 points. And then he actually doesn't score more than 30 points pretty much after that. I end up stopping him to in his tracks. He doesn't actually make 300 in the end, and I win by 143. So I was very lucky in this game that I managed to draw that ass and be able to score really well for the rest of the game. So 4-3 now, plus 387. Game number 8. I played another Thai youngster who I've never played before. Soramit Metavihari. Sorry if I butchered your name, but that's what I have written down here. I've never played him before, but very strong player. He starts off with a bingo. This is actually one of the games where I actually don't bingo whatsoever. So I end up losing by 105. He bingos at the start. And then he actually plays Strain for 80 towards the middle of the game. And then as I'm trying to get a bingo down, he plays Miserly for 84. So he ends up bingoing 3 times in this game. Oh, that guy's the same age as me? Yeah, he's looks like a young guy. It's very... looks like he's just come out of school or something. But again, very strong player. Nice, yeah, nice win for him there. So it keeps me at 4 wins, 4-4 plus 282. I play another Thai young player here, Noparush Tip Keu. I assume that's how you pronounce it. Which actually was a barnstorming game here. This is the next game I'm actually going to analyze. So let's take a look at this. This is game number 9 of the event, so this is still day 1. This is the penultimate day game. Sometimes Thai names are hard to pronounce. I mean, sometimes they're also not phonetically correct either. So I know that, like, for example, like Komon is actually sounds like more like an N ending rather than L ending. So sometimes I would just need to hear someone say the name, and then I'd be like, okay, that's what it should sound like. But I have literally got no basis on some of these names as to... I've not heard anyone say their name before, so I'm just kind of... yeah. Kind of oblivious to it. Noparush is also an upcoming player. He's only 2 years older than me. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of young Thai players coming through now as well. Okay, let's start this game. And let's update the scores for you on the screen. Okay. Alright. Alright, so, bit of a slow start here. Let's just say that. So the first move, he ends up playing Glug. Glug for 12. And then I have a kind of a weird first rack here. And I'm not entirely sure what I should do, but I think I picked the best option here. So I have this rack. And the Z and my other letters don't really go very well with this, what's been played, with the G and the L and the U. I decided to play Mule for 13, actually trying to set up my Z, especially in this spot here. But I also have, if I draw into like an A or an E, I have Lees on the triple. So I'm like, I got to try and set up the Z somehow. I think Macondo actually really likes this play. Does anyone know why Jesse Day had to leave the Causeway early? And hello to everyone, I've been lurking. Yes, he's got some kind of issue with his back. Yeah, I think he has some kind of medical issue. So yeah. I think he actually pulled out towards the end of day 2, which I didn't actually even realize until I saw his name on the... or couldn't find his name on the standings, because he was still out and about. He was still like going to the buffet and eating and stuff like that. So I was like, I didn't realize he wasn't playing. And he was still milling around. But yeah, he had to pull out due to medical issues, and he actually told me like on day maybe day 4 or something. He said that his back was feeling a bit better now, so kind of annoyed that he kind of he's kind of a little bit annoyed that he pulled out, and he probably felt like he could have played, but at that moment in time, I guess it was the right choice for him. Okay, so I played Mule. That's the next move here. And then Nokrush takes a long time on this move, but he actually ends up bingoing with Skyanid. I could only assume that he had seen this move almost instantly, but wasn't 100% sure on how to spell it, which is why he took like maybe 4 moves, 4 minutes or something. But he did spell it right, and this is correct. And then my rack actually isn't particularly good again. I did have Lee's and me to kind of ready to go, but that also got blocked. So here I was again trying and find a way to set up my Z, but it actually I tried to play Leem, setting up the Z above N, but actually the analysis or the engine Mikondo would prefer me just to play the owl and play Lemil. I had to be completely honest, I also wasn't 100% sure this was a word. I was like maybe 95% sure. Extra 4 points and keeping easy blank is really strong. I wasn't too worried about that because taking the L off does allow me to play the Z if he doesn't play there, so I didn't feel like it was worth the risk to playing Lemel if I didn't have to in this position. So again, was about 95% sure, but wasn't. Well, I didn't want to have to play 3 turns and have a very low score after that. So yeah, I played Leem. And then he ends up playing this move pretty quickly. He actually does play above EN. He plays Biont. So I'm actually now about 70 behind. And I actually end up drawing into a lot of big tiles here. I do have the word Klutzes, which is something I did see at the time. Nowhere to play it though. What I ended up doing was actually playing the word Zooks. I don't actually have CSW in here loaded up, but Zooks is here. But actually it's a very interesting move here, because this was actually like a 10% error. Not only because Zooks also gives away a lot of points next to it, but the fact is that I kind of talked about the word Klutzes being a bingo that's on my rack, and there actually is a floating T here. There's no bingo available, but something, actually the best move was actually to play Lutz, keeping EKS blank. And that sets up the K along the triple, and if you bingo with the K on the triple and also get the K doubling downwards and the Z, then you're gonna probably score like 120 points. So that was actually a pretty big error in the grand scheme of things, that I didn't see the word Lutz. I did kind of see Klutz, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it, and I didn't really think about not putting the K there, so just needed to have my eyes a bit more open on that one. And whether or not that kind of gives away that you might think that I have the K is another story, but I don't really know. You're literally just hoping I don't have one tile in the bag. But Lutz would have been the play here. Instead I played Zooks. And with through the K of Zooks he plays Hoke. How klutzy of you, yes, exactly. And not quite genius enough, I'm afraid. Hence the 20th place finish, not the first place finish. Okay, so I have this here. I actually have Fardals as a bingo. It doesn't play. Although I do play the best move here of halves. Not really much available here. Just got to score and play off the H, keep some good tiles. So that's what I did. And then he plays was. Again, just getting rid of some bad tiles. So here, this is the next move. I have this rack. Good evening to Kitty Catastrophe. I was so excited watching the Let's Play Scrabble coverage. Great job to everyone involved in that. Good games. Yes, I actually haven't seen any of... I personally have not actually seen any of the coverage back yet, but I would like to watch some of it back. I actually wasn't actually on the stream at all either, so... yeah, it'd be nice to see some of the other players playing. So here in this situation, I do see my bingo of Dervish. And then I'm like, I think there's another bingo here. I think Shrived is also a word. And then I'm like, wait a minute, is Shrived a word? Am I thinking of Thrived or Shrived? And I was like, I think that I'm pretty sure there's a second bingo here. But I couldn't pull the trigger on Shrived and Skyanids. I was actually pretty sure that Skyanid took some ass. And then I was kind of about to give up on playing a bingo until I realized that actually Dervish plays underneath Glug. So yeah, Shrive means also to shrieve. So I didn't know that at the time. But I was so sure that there was a second bingo here, and I was like, it has to be that. It has to be that. But I just wasn't sure enough of the word itself. So once I actually found or realized that Dervish plays, then I played Dervish. It's a 5-point difference between on the scoreboard, but Dervish is so much better defensively, and actually is actually pretty close in terms of the simulation results. And not only that, Not Rouge actually gives me another 5 points for this as well. I'm more sure of Shreve than Dervish. Yeah, Dervish is actually, I think, more of a normal English word, actually. It's more of a normal... I think it's... If you kind of Google, like, whirling dervish, then I think that would make more sense. To give it more context, to something that just spins around a lot. So yeah, that's why I was very sure that dervish was good. But wasn't sure of Shrive. So... each their own, I guess. I got an extra 5 points anyway, so I didn't end up playing an 88-point move in the end. And yeah, end up taking the lead. And then Noparouge plays Axe in the top corner. Pretty much the worst case scenario in the top corner there. And then I actually draw relatively well. After a bingo, I drew the blank and drew some good tiles. I play YE here. Probably should have played YEA or something to give more floating tiles, but I didn't want to open up too much. I wasn't sure if he was in good shape or not after Axe, but it turns out that he wasn't, because he ends up exchanging 4 after Axe. So now I am 6 points behind, and it's on my turn again. And I actually have this rack here, trying to find some good bingos or bingos that fit in random places. I couldn't find anything that was that good, so I just played Rallier. 64 points. I think it was probably one of the best players I had available. And then Noparouge plays Aga above Biont. So now I'm about 40 points in front. And I'm sitting very pretty here because I have this rack. And I'm like, wait a minute, I think there's a bingo here. Through the R, and I'm correct because pronotum. So if you might know the 7-letter word pronota, pronotum is... linked to that word. 86 points is by far the best play here. I play that move, and now I'm in really good shape. I'm now instead of being a bingo behind, I'm now 100 and almost 140 in front. However, the game is not quite that simple because just like what Nomi Nemo did to me after going this far in front, the game does not want me to win easily. The game is not that simple. He ends up having this rack here. No blanks here. He just has this rack, Partia. And as you can see, he has the 9 timer Trampier for 158 playable, and he plays it almost immediately. So my lead has gone into smoke here. I'm now 31 points behind. Okay, all right, okay, no problem, guys. We got this. We got this. Does the Causeway Challenge move countries every time? Was it always in Bangkok, Thailand? The next one is going to be Malaysia. Yes, that is correct. I've actually been talking to Michael about some of the... he actually was talking to me about some of the future editions for Causeway. I can't really tell you about what his plans are specifically, but all I will say is that the plans that he has, he is not planning to put it in the same place ever. In the same country ever. It's going to be in a different country every single time. I can't make the I can't, I mean, again, I don't know what plans that actually will transpire, but I don't think he's planning to hold it in the same country ever again, or at least with the timeline that he has in mind. Was this the first Causeway Challenge? No, it's actually been around for it actually started about 20 years ago, and it used to be a team tournament between Malaysia and Singapore, because there is a causeway bridge that links the two countries together, and then it kind of expanded to other nations. It kind of got open to different countries as a bigger tournament, and then it kind of ballooned to like like 5 or maybe 10 different countries playing. Where like other countries like the United States and the UK and India or Canada, all those countries have 5 players each, and they all play against all the other teams. And then that kind of got rebranded as the Alchemist Cup instead of Causeway, but maybe that might happen at some point soon. As far as I know, Causeway started back in 2002, before I was born. Okay, all right. No need to say how old we're feeling right now. All right, okay. Making me feel old here. Jeez, I feel like an old man. Well, I guess I am. Well, I guess I am one, but you know, never mind. Anyway, we'll move on. Trampier got played here, and I didn't draw particularly well. After this, I have this rack. Could have been better, I guess, but I do have the Q for scoring potential. I have QI, but then I realized I have Fakir in 2 different places. I decided to play it on the bottom left side instead. Here, because I did have an A, but if I do draw into another A, I would have OVA in between here. So I'm just hoping that I could do that at the very least. So despite 9 timer, I'm still ahead by 3 points. And then Operation kind of almost instantly played Blin for 24. And my rack is this. So there's actually 9 tiles in the bag. I'm looking at the tiles left. There's still some good tiles there as well. Feeling like there probably is enough space or enough time to bingo here. I decided to play Tav for 17 points. Also potentially threatening the triple and the O column. So I decided to do that. And then you can see here I'm losing by 4 points, but Noparush ends up bingoing on the next turn. As if the game is not being isn't difficult enough. He bingos with Erodent for what's that, 72 points. He's now at 489. So I have CEOST as a leave from Tav, and I got very lucky here. I drew AN from the bag. So I have bingos. I have most notably Octanes. I also have been bingos through the R as well, like Ancestor. But I will play my highest scoring bingo of Octanes and Ralliers, which actually also draws a 5-point challenge there. So the letters left in the bag were DEIJOOY. So I end up catching him with 36 points on his rack. And from 413, I now go up and win the game with 535 to his 489. Again, a 1,000-point game. Lots of bingos on this board. And yeah, fireworks. It's kind of best kind of games. So that was a nice game. Game number 9. Managed to pull that one out the fire there. For my 5th win of the tournament. 5 and 4 plus 328. Game 10. End of day 1. I finish my day against the Westbrook chairman, no less. Lukman Owalabi, representing Ireland. I got very lucky here. I ended up winning by 144. Almost getting to 500. So I finished day 1 6 and 4, 472. Top 20 or so. In pretty good shape there. So I'm happy with that. But day 2 morning was a bit of a nightmare, really. The aforementioned in the chat, Jesse Day, was my first opponent on day 2. This is not a game I was going to go through, but it was a bit of a miracle that I even got to 445 points, but I still lost by 162. Jesse got to 607, another 1,000-point game, putting up my first loss of the day. Game 12 was against Australian expert Trevor Housel. I started off with my first move of Endmost for 92. And then I struggled to score another 100 points in the next like 7 turns. I'm literally one tile off a bingo for the next 6 turns. It was kind of very frustrating on a board that was getting blocked, but there were spaces to bingo. I just couldn't get something in time, which then allowed him to actually get in front without really doing too much. And then he bingos before I do. I get my bingo, and then he bingos again. So, and then he gets his fixes for 68 as well. So he ends up winning by 78. Bit of a disappointing game that was actually looking pretty promising at the very beginning. So now I'm 6 and 6 plus 232. Game 13 was another Barnstormer. I actually got to 504, but I still lost to Vanita Balasingam of Malaysia. She got 526. I would again love to go through all these games, but I didn't actually really have much of a chance to win in the end. I was actually behind by a lot. I was actually behind by how much was I behind by? I was behind by 160 points at one point near the middle of the game. And then towards the end, I actually had a back-to-back bingos of Sangari for 89 plus 5, and then Feedlot of 8 for 86, which then really boosted my score. But she ended up playing Wiser at the last move for 51 to win the game. So it's another loss My record now, I'm not going to say it, but it is 6 and 7. Plus 210. And then I have one more game, round 14, against Nomi Nemo, who is actually in the chat. Round 14. So I start the game with Asinos for 70. I play some really high-scoring moves to start with. I guess you get to 100, almost 200 points after four turns. But then he ends up playing Parakite through the K on the triple with a blank P, which I believe is actually the only 9-timer available. So a really nice find there, which ends up leveling up the game. And then he has Freeload for 75. I have Troopers for 78, and then crucially he ends up playing Trendoid for 70 points through an open E, which actually ends up being a bit of a mistake on my part, because the move before I should have actually tried to muck up that E a little bit with playing somewhere else. So it was a bit of a tactical error on my part, which then could have stopped that from happening. And because that got played, yeah, I was kind of a little bit behind each time. And yeah, I was a bit low on time also, but ended up only losing by 10 points. I don't think I could have actually have won based on what leads I had at the end. So there was a difficult start of day 2 with 4 straight losses in the morning, which means I'm actually now went from 6 and 4 to 6 and 8. My spread's still in decent shape with a plus 200, but we're going to move on to game number 15. A player that I actually already played in this tournament, and it's Lukman Owolabi again. So let's go through this game. This is the game that I want to go through here. Game number 15. So let's see. Let me change things around here. Okay, we're going to reset the scores. Everything there for you. Okay, so first move, Lipman plays as Garioles. So after 4 straight losses, and we just come back from lunch, and then this is happening now. So I'm like, okay, I guess we're oh wait, this is actually the wrong position. I guess it's continuing the way we left off earlier on. Okay, so the next rack here is this. I actually ended up playing Thrawn, not Thrawn. I actually wasn't 100% sure if Thrawns was a word. Even though I know Thrawn and Thrawn Lee, I couldn't remember if Thrawns was good or not. So I should have played the N as well, but I didn't. I played Thrawn, which again I could always hook the N onto later on. So I did that. Lukman then played Sov for 14. So it's at 84. So I didn't have any vows to start with. I kept DNX, and I end up drawing BDNT from that rack, from that as well. I probably could have just played Bind, but I decided to exchange. I just kept NX on my rack, and that's what I did there. So let's see. Then he plays Gavit through the G, so getting 23 points. And he's already at 100 points. He's already pretty far in front. And then I have this rack. Relatively straightforward move of Fox underneath Gavit. 38 points. So I did that pretty quickly. Then he plays QI. Just drops the Q there next onto Garioles. Which is actually a little bit annoying because this was my rack. So I actually had bingos through the I and the A that he ends up blocking. And I was like, wait a minute. And I think I had etchants through the H as well. So actually, he ended up blocking, inadvertently blocking 3 bingo lanes at the same time with 1 tile. At exactly the correct time. So, bearing in mind that I was in a bit of a losing streak, I'm like, I'm just trying to get back in this game here. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He ends up, yeah, obstructing all of those things at the same time with 1 tile. That's tilting, yeah. I know, I was like, wait a minute. Surely I must still have something available, but I didn't. And I ended up finding the best play here, and it's actually just dropping the T for Tor, setting up my S. So I did that. Keeping stance as a leave very strong. And not only does that block my bingo with the Q, but he ends up bingoing through the A with the blank. So he has Virginia for 91 points. Sorry, 91 points. So I'm now 152 points behind. Luckily I have a bingo next. With my stance leave, I actually draw the U, and I find the highest scoring bingo available here, and that's through the TO of Gavitt and Fox. I play Toucanets for 74. So yeah, that's what I did. He played Koi underneath Thraw. So that was that, and then I'm still about 100 behind, pretty bad shape with 5 vows. I end up playing Orloy, one of my best plays available, for 17, just straight, you know, next to Toucanets. And then he plays Hugh, so we end up blocking more lanes on the left side of the board. And then this becomes a tipping point here in terms of what my move is here. So I have this rack. I'm 102 points behind. And I'm looking at the options available, and I'm thinking this is not really looking too good for me at this stage. There are a few options like Raj and Tawa, but then that actually also blocks the kind of blocks the S hook for store. So yes, Nominimo, that's actually what I did. I decided to play Yarp. The 13 points. I decided to play it because I'm like, there's not much else I can really do at this stage. Even if I don't hit a bingo, at least I could get a little bit closer on the scoreboard and maybe bingo later on. But we're only halfway through the game. There's only 2 S's left unseen. I don't have any real inference on what he's doing. He just played Koi and Hugh. He might have an S. But at the same time, if he has an S, he plays there, and then it's game over anyway. So I might as well just roll the dice. So I do play Yarp here. And then he kind of starts oohing and ahhing about it. So I'm like, okay, this is a good thing now. Now he has to try and do something. I think what he ended up telling me is that he just had like six vows or something. And the best he could do was actually just play Oi above Yarp for 6 points. That's all he had. So this is my leave after Yarp. I kept A and NO blank. Maybe the tile guards were smiling on me at this point because I drew ES from the bag. So that's what I had. And I have 2 different moves, 2 different bingos that play through the eye, hitting the triple of Race On and Canonize, which are 2 words that I ended up finding. And I decided to end up playing Canonize in the end. So 2 words that play there for 116 points. And we did that. So from being 100 behind, I'm now up by 21 out of nowhere. Lukman then plays TP next to Orloy. I end up drawing a lot of duplicate tiles here. I end up playing Dad for 20, trying to block the S hook. So then Lukman actually then started, I mean, he told me at the end of the game, but he got a little bit paranoid about the final S that was left and the store hook. Then he ends up playing the word Cambic onto the C of Canonize, which, for those that are eagle-eyed, it's not a word. I think it's just Cambia and Iambic and maybe a few other things that are very similar sounding, but he really wanted to block that S, and in the meantime he ends up doing that by playing a phony word, which I challenge off. So that's that. It's my turn again, and I'm 10 points in front now. I actually do have, and I should just draw on the S as well. So I have this rack. There's a few different things I can do here, and that score pretty well. So things like Herdsman does score very well, but I do know that he has the M now. So instead, I just decided to play Herm. I guess the A is also hook for Herm also is possible, but I decided just to do that and try and hope for a bingo myself now. On the S hook of store, mainly. But instead he ends up playing Emic onto the E of Virginia. So I'm now 9 points in front. So I had my leave of DENRS. Again, very lucky. I drew IO from the bag, so I have a whole bunch of bingos to play here. Most notably Doncia and Rosind that hook onto the S of Emic. So I played Rosind here for 77. And now I'm up by 86, sorry. He ends up playing id, just drops the D there next to the I. Which again, I'm not really quite sure why, because there's not really anything open. I'm not sure what he's trying to go for here. In any case, I decide to just continue scoring as I do. Play underneath Rosin with File for 35. That actually now puts me over 100 in front. I think he was actually fishing in the end, because he ends up playing Zarnak onto the C of Canonize, which then kind of puts him back in range again. But the others left are not particularly good. Is that right? Oh wait, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I with Virginia, actually the R was actually a blank, not the B. Oh, do I need to go back and do this again? Maybe not. I don't think we need to worry about it too much. But in any case, wait a minute. Let me just. Yeah, we don't need to worry about it too much because there's not that much left of the game and it's not too big a deal. But anyway, I play Agiler here, setting up my T outplay for Therm. So I play Agiler. He plays Rye. And then, yeah, I play Therm. Just play T and Therm. That's it. Game over. So yeah. Oh, this is, wait a minute. This is the end here. Okay, well, the end actually was he actually went overtime by 10 points, so it went to 401 to me, 484. Kind of I made a bit of a bodge job of this this game that I'm showing you here, but you can see that that's kind of what happened. I was a long way behind at the start, had to roll the dice on Yap with Canonize, and then got lucky with a phony that he ended up playing midway through the game, and then bingo to kind of seal the deal. So that ended my 4-game losing streak. Start to continue day 2. And then game 16 I played against another youngster, but from India, Suyash Manchali. A bit of a rough time here because there wasn't a great deal that I could do at the start of the game. I was actually ahead by a bit, and then he played Finders using the blank. He was fishing for a little bit and then ends up bingoing with Straighten for 72, which was crucial. He stayed about a bingo in front, and then I bingo with Sinopia later on, but then I draw the Q, the X, and 2 U's in a block board. I do end up scoring well with the Q, but the V ends up on my rack also, and then it gets a bit dicey with very little time left. End up losing by 33. So I'm now currently 7-9 and a plus 250 spread. Game number 17 was against British expert Natalie Zolti. Got very lucky here. I got 588 to her 377. In the first 6 moves, I had 4 bingos. And then it also led on from that was Hawks for 50 and then Rez for 74. And then she ended up phoning later on in the game, despite her 2 bingos. So yeah, I got a big win on the board at least, so I was happy with that. Moving up to 8-9 plus 461. Game 18 was against fellow American Sami Okasaga. I got in front early on in the game with Loathed. I played a disconnected 8-letter word, not a bingo, but I played it with 2 Fs and a blank. Played Fanciful for 52, then got lucky with playing Sudane for 66, and then drew into 4 E's, a G and an X, and luckily he bingoed onto the triple, which gave me a place to play Regexes for 69. Not as a bingo, but still a very high score. And from there, the board was way too blocked. I ended up winning that game by 78, so I'm now 9-9 plus 539. And then we move on to game 19. A player I've not played against before, a British player, Jack Moran. He ends up having 2 bingos early on, back to back. But I have a bingo also. And then, you know, my scoring never stops motto here. So from the middle of the game, I have a stretch of scores here, all back to back. I have 89, 40, 50, 58, 48, 33, 58, 33, and then 29 to end. So I end up almost getting 500 without really bingoing. I only bingoing once. So I end up winning that game by 82 points in the end. Up to 10-9 now, plus 621. And then I finish off day number 2 with a game against the 3rd seed, Hubert Wee of Singapore. It was a bit of a bad one here because he bingos early on with Atomists to go in front early on. And then I play Orises. And I actually chickened out of a bingo that I, again, wasn't sure if I was thinking of like 5 different things. I should have played Nattery, Nattery, and I wasn't sure if I was just imagining that word, or, I mean, there are like 5 other things that sound like that. And I didn't want to lose a turn, so I didn't play it. and that could have been the that arguably would have been the move that would have given me a much better win percentage halfway through the game. Again, no guarantee that I would have won after that anyway, but would definitely have helped. But instead, I got 5 points from him with Bypath, and then he plays Ironweed for 63. And it gets to a point where the board is very blocked, and he ends up winning by 32 points. So I end up day 2 with 10 and 10 plus 589. So that was day 2. Day 3, I started the first game against again another repeat, Dean Saldana. He actually bingos first with the radios. But I was actually kind of lucky here because not only did I get Oxers for 60 and then Illyrian for 62 back to back, I ended up having 2 blanks, and I actually phony bingoed against him. He held it, and he actually doesn't challenge it. I ended up playing the word quicking with a blank Q and a blank C, where actually I should have played quirking instead. That would have been a word, but quicking is not a word. So that got me 74 points and actually puts me out of range after that, and nothing much has happened after that, so I end up winning by 137 points to start off day 3. Now 11 and 10 plus 7, 26. Good lucky getting away with a phony bingo there. Game 22 was against Pakistan. Pakistan number 1 player, Wasim Khatri. This was probably my worst game of the tournament because I should have won this game. I actually bingoed twice early on with both blanks. Kind of got a bit bogged down through the middle of the game, but I was actually playing very slowly. And I actually ran out of time. I went overtime. I lost 20 points. And the worst part is that I ended up losing this game because I lost that 20 points. I ended up losing this game by 16. So actually, if I just didn't run out of time, I would have won. So this is a game that I should have won. Should be a big W on my scorecard. And it was a bit frustrating midway through the game where I actually had 2 bingos that didn't play whatsoever, which would have put me out of range, but should have just played faster, really. Maybe a bit of fatigue from watching the Arsenal game that evening was probably kicking in a little bit there. But again, that's my own fault. So 16-point loss puts me 11 and 11. Game 23 was against Singaporean player Ricky Palermo. He ends up bingoing back-to-back early on with Tallied and Fearing. I actually phony with my bingo again. I play Syringe, which again is a normal word, but I end up hooking the S onto Duple, D-U-P-L-E, which actually does not take an S hook. It just takes a T and an X. He doesn't challenge it, and then I bingo 2 moves later to kind of even it up. But in the end, he ends up having enough firepower to win this game by 63. So I'm now 11 and 12 plus 647. And let's see. Okay, so round 24 is another game I want to go through here. We've got 3 more games to kind of look through. Game 24 is the next one. And this is again against another Singaporean, 2 Singaporeans in a row, against Hubert Wee once again. So let's have a look at this. So let me update the stuff on the screen real quick. And refresh it all for you. Okay, so this is what it is. I'm to go first. I actually have a very kind of weird rack here of this. So I play Vrot to start with. I don't think there's much else to think about. Could also exchange, of course, which is actually what he does. So he exchanges 5 on his first turn. I don't particularly have good tiles here either. I decided to play Z 28. Just trying to go for my highest scoring play here, mainly. Then he plays Hutia for 30 points. I still have no vows here. I end up burning my vow and not drawing another one. So I have this rack. So I end up playing Turf through the U, keeping my S, but again, keeping PSSV, which is again not very good, but hoping to draw some more vows at least. Hubert plays Kima through, well, onto the Zoe. And luckily I do draw 2 vows, so the next move is this. I have this rack. There's actually no bingos available. I decided to go with the kind of the equity play of Pavs. So I do that. And then he quickly plays Conged through the E. So kind of a bit of a weird start here. 4 moves each. We're not at 100 yet either. But then now this is where we start racking up the score. I have Erasian on my rack, and there's only one playable bingo onto the F of Theranos. On the F of Turf, that is. And then he counters that with Ocarinas onto the S as well of Theranos. I don't particularly have an amazingly balanced rack. Oh, commit. Sorry, I didn't actually commit that. My rack is not particularly great, but with the P in the top right corner, I have Jape, which is the best play, despite not keeping any vowels to score so much. Not only that, he ends up bingoing again with Fiercest through the C of Conged. And then I have this rack. I only have one vowel. I do preserve my vowel by playing Balk through the A of Ocarinas. 35 points. Pretty good play there. And then he ends up playing the word Hound up top. So the scores are pretty close right now. I'm kind of feeling like I'm a bit of a crossroads with this next move. So I have this rack here. I'm looking at what tiles are left. There's still an X, which actually might come in useful. There's still a blank and an S. There's still lots of E's, I's, L's, O's, all those letters I don't generally have on my rack. Wanting to get a little bit more aggressive with my scoring, I'm a little bit behind. So I'm thinking about playing Affy, A-F-F-Y, through the F of Fiercest, which looks pretty good, keeping D-E-G-N. But I really want to try and go for the blank or the S. So I can actually extend Affy to Affide. Which ends up what I'm doing, what I do for 48 points. Which also sets up a bit of volatility with the X next to the E of Affide as well. Again, I'm drawing 2 more tiles here with my GN leave. There's 5 I's on the scene, so I could draw into some ING bingo or even the X. So yeah, I'm really trying to go for it. He does hold this play and then he lets it go. It's definitely not a word that you would necessarily see played very often, so it is, you know, it is pretty obscure. Then he quickly plays Augite down from the A of Ocarina, so he opens up the board a bit more. And then I now actually draw into this. I'm a little bit disappointed to start with that I don't draw an S, a blank, or an X. But with Augite now being played, it now gives me a place to play a bingo that is labeling through the I. And that is 76 points. And then he has this rack. Really, he has Poloist or Topsoil, which would fit. But there's one standout bingo here, and that is scoring 81 points through the T of Orgite, and then his tooltips, which is a word that he ends up finding. Really, really nice play. And bearing in mind that tooltips also leaves just one in the bag as well. Especially with the blank and the X on scene, still, it's you're going into the bag and seeing what's left. And the X is actually going to be a big factor here, because the X plays underneath the E of labeling and also plays next to the E of a find. So that can actually now become a bit of a factor here. Tooltips is hard to find, it is, yes. And maybe he found it already early on and then just realized it still fit. But nevertheless, it's pretty much a tie game here. So, this is another cool endgame to look out for here, because this is actually what I have on my rack. Again, as I said, there's one tile left in the bag, and you can see with the unseen tiles, there's 2 E's, 2 I's, L, and W blank. And I have about 8 minutes on my clock, at least, so I have time to work this out, or at least have a good amount of time to work something out. And the good thing is I also draw the X, so I can score very well with this. But the problem is that he is now threatening bingos on almost all quadrants of the board now. We're now looking at, obviously next to a Fide, the E of a Fide. We're looking at the E of Orgite at the bottom of the board, and also the S of Tooltips, which is now recently just got opened. So now there's ways to lose this game almost everywhere. And it now became an exercise now in terms of what bingos are now possible with what 8 tiles are left, because he just drew 7 of the 8 tiles just randomly. There's no inference whatsoever. We're going to have to figure out what bingos are playable in any part of the board. So yeah, I decided to start looking at what 7s or 8s could be played. I see that if he has left an E in the bag, then he could play wire line down here. So I could lose to that. I also see that if he leaves an I in the bag, he also has weed line. Plays down there. The thing is, if he leaves the L, then I've already lost. I've already worked that out, because weenies would play down here, and also with that rack, something like wineries on the other side of the board would play as well. So an L draw for me loses. I see with the N, I don't think if the N is in the bag, I think I'm still okay. And then with the W, I could lose to Lenities. And with the blank, I think I'm also okay. That's kind of what I worked out. And then obviously I pieced that all together and realized, okay, well, how many bingos do I block? How many out end games do I actually win? So yeah. So what I ended up doing was actually end up taking my highest scoring move of Oryx, which actually scores 66 points. Mainly blocking weed line and wire line at the bottom of the board. That's kind of what I have to do here, I think. So that's what I did. Did Oryx. And then he ends up thinking for like 7 minutes. And I'm like, wait a minute. I just drew an eye from the bag. So he actually has what does he have here? He has this rack. So I just drew an eye from the bag. And I'm like, okay, well, he's had plenty of time to work out what to do here. I have also blocked weed line at the bottom of the board, so at least I have to block that. But if you take him so long to think, then surely he doesn't have anything. And then he ends up playing a bingo. After 7 minutes, he ends up playing wineless for 149 points. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that a word? And then I challenge it, and that is it. It's a word. I lose. I lose by almost 100 points. So that was a loss there. And again, he actually wasn't 100% sure if wineless was a word. So I just want to kind of go back to Oryx here. We're looking at what tiles are left. I'm just gonna roll things back a little bit and just show you what I was thinking. I told you about all the words that I was blocking. The problem is that I'm not a robot, and I also missed a bunch of bingos that he could have played. So with an E, leaving an E in the bag, I said he could play wireline. He also could play wiliness. That's also another 9-timer here. So I would also lose to an E draw because I can't block either of those things. I did end up drawing the I, so that is actually what transpired. Weed line could have been played here, and he obviously played wineless onto the S, so I would lose with an I draw as well. We talked about the L draw that was going to lose no matter what. And with the N, I thought there was actually no bingos available if he left the N in the bag. So that's actually maybe easier for me to just put it out here. So so with this rack, I was like, I couldn't see anything, but actually there was a bingo that could be played here also. He could have also had another 9-timer with likewise, which actually would have scored a lot more. So the N also yields an out bingo that I didn't block. So those were the 3 words that I missed: wiliness, wineless, which is what was played, and likeness. All of them play on this S here, which means that if an E, I, L, or W was drawn from the bag, there's a bingo that plays through the S here, and I lose. I'm hoping for an N or a blank to stay in the bag, and I think I'll be okay. Well, an N in the bag, and also to block this spot. The blank gives me a win no matter what. So really, I actually made a tactical error here, because with 6 of the well, let me say this: 5 of the different tiles that could have been played. So let's just say this is really just for illustrative purposes. Oh, I actually can't even show you that because it doesn't work. But actually, let's just assume there's a blank on the rack. But all these letters plus a blank, right? If I drew any of the E's, any of the I's, I lose. And the L as well. So 5 of the 8 I lose. N I would actually win if I blocked lightwise. And the W also I would block lenities. I also need to block the S, and the blank is fine. So there's actually bingos that fit along that S pretty much with everything that could have come down there, apart from the blank. So I made a tactical error here. What I should have done with what my actual rack, which was this, I should actually have just played XU. This blocks, and of all the out of the possible 8 tiles, 7 possible endgames with the with a bingo onto the S. I would just have to hope that that he doesn't have the L for weenies, or the E or the I for weed line or wire line. but there were extra end games where I could lose to this, so I actually needed to block this first. In the end of the day, it didn't really matter because he actually had one of the vows. He left one of the vows in the bag that actually would have been good into some spots. But it's one of those things where you need a little bit of marginal gains to, in order to try and take out more endgame wins. So I think I lost like 25% win percentage here. Instead of 1 out of 8, which is what I did. A 1 out of 8 endgame win is actually, it could have been a 3 out of 8 with XU. So yeah, that was game 24 against Hubert Wee. I lost there, so 11 and 13 now, and plus 549. Game 25 was against Timmy Doko, who I actually got a bye win against earlier in the tournament, but he is now here, and he's actually like a game behind me, despite not playing the first 6 games. He ends up winning this game by 21. This is actually a game where I actually couldn't have won. I ended up going out with starving for 89. Merely to reduce the spread, but he was about 150 in front anyway throughout most of the game. So I'm now down to 11 and 14. I'm staring at like the abyss right now of like, there's only about 10 games left, and I'm not really that close to being 50%. This is not looking good whatsoever. So, we move on to game 26. I play against Thai veteran player, Akegapan Prasatsuk. I've never played him before, actually, but this was good. I was actually lucky to win this game. He actually could have blocked the bingo lane, the one bingo lane that was available, and could have won, but I ended up bingoing out with my blank and winning this game by 65 points to get myself off 11 wins and now up to 12 and 14 plus 593. And then I play Australian expert player Russell Honeybun. I also win this by about 80 points. Managed to bingo very close to the end of the game with 2 blanks, so I was very lucky there. And I move up to 13 wins, 13 and 14, plus 673. Then game 28, I play against Charles Carniero. I believe he's from Singapore. I actually phoned twice in this game, but notably, my first phony was actually a 9-letter bingo, which actually wasn't a word, and then 2 moves later, I actually play a disconnected 9 of treadings, and then the next move, I play another 9-letter word of bereaving. So a lot of 9-letter words being played on that game there, 2 in a back-to-back, and then later on, I end up bingoing again back-to-back with kidults and queriers to get into a big lead. I actually played my last phony who actually wasn't challenged. It was actually the word innard, which actually is a sticky S word, it needs innards. Didn't get challenged, but ended up winning this game by 45. And no, 56 points, sorry. 56. So I'm now 14 and 14, and I've broken even again with a 3-game winning streak. Plus 729. And then the penultimate game of the day, I had a rematch against Indian youngster Suyash Manchali. It was a bit of a cagey one again, and I got lucky with a 2 blank bingo again to get in front. And he ends up having to phony towards the end as a desperation move to try and win the game. But I end up winning by 34, so now I'm 15 and 14. Plus 763 with 1 game to go, which was against Indonesian player Alex Ghazali. Didn't really have much of a chance here. He had 3 bingos in the first 4 moves. I had 1 bingo midway through the game, and was just trying to keep things open, trying to keep scoring, but end up losing by 105. So end up day 3. with a kind of recovering my day there, and end up with 15-15 plus 658. And we only have 6 games to go. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go through game 31. First game of the final day. So we're going to talk about this game against, again, another player that we've played with against already, which was Thai player Akegapun. So we'll talk about that. And it is me to go first. So let's reset this scoreboard. Again, this was a bit of a barnstorming game, so we'll go through it real quick. So yes, first move for me, I have the word eatages, so I found that pretty quickly. And I decided not to play next to too many square things there, so got 868. He ends up playing a phony bingo here. He plays womanity, which actually isn't a word. So that isn't a word. I challenge that off. I have this rack. Looking to play the word Judd for 28. Blocking a few floating tiles, but again, he doesn't really have anything anyway. But with his rack, he plays Yao. I get lucky here. I draw into a bingo. I have the word eruptive onto the E of eatages. Then he plays arify through the R. And I have this rack. I again managed to bingo here with Tanioid for 64 points. Does not take an S, so not worried about that. Once again, Akegapun scores really well here with Clem next to Arifai. And then I don't have particularly good tiles after this draw here, but I do play Fu, which is my best play, 26 points above the Y of Arifai. And then he ends up playing a 9-letter word here. He bingos with a very high scoring move and a very deserving move, arguably, you would say. 104 points for deserving. Puts him right back in the game again. Out of nowhere. So yeah, that was that. And then I have XU to play here. Seems like a pretty standard play, just trying to block some stuff, stay about 100 in front. And then he plays QI. And then I pull further in front again, lucky with the draw here. I play Roniode, 72 points, putting myself pretty far in front again, 134 points in front. And then he plays Hail, again, hitting the triple pretty hard there, 42 points. And then I actually don't have many vowels here. Oh, need the R. So I actually missed my best play of Hordok. That actually would have done really well, getting rid of a bunch of consonants. I just scored pretty well with Rock instead for 36, keeping a few too many consonants though. And this is actually, this move now is a pivotal one because he ends up phonying, but he has this rack, so he ends up playing Trawlets through the R. Getting it mixed up with trawlers and trawl nets. So the thing is, he ends up phonying here, but he actually does have a bingo of wattles. And why is that? Why is that important? Because if you look at the choices, he actually has a place to play it right here, in between Tanioid and Rock. So he has a phonying with Trawlets, and I actually spot this move that he has. So let's put that on the board right now. Yeah, the overlaps are pretty wild, that's true. But the thing is, I actually don't have any vowels. Wait, what do I have here? I'm trying to alphabetize this, but this is pretty hard to alphabetize. Okay, here we go. I have this rack now. It's not particularly good. I was actually planning to play just bunch down here, get some points, and maybe block the G a little bit too. And then I was like looking at his rack and was like, Wattles actually fits. I have to block this spot, but how do I block it? Especially with no vowels in hand, I could just play HM here or something, but I actually kind of want to keep the CH combination or the HM combination. So I ended up just playing Dob through here, keeping CHLMP, which actually would combine pretty well with some vowels. So I did that instead, and I don't think he doesn't actually notice this, my block, until I tell him at the end, where he didn't realize it. He instantly plays Wept. Yeah. And then I actually draw 2 vowels, which is kind of fortunate. This is my rack here. I decided at this point he's keeping Salt. So I'm figuring, you know, gotta block this R of Deserving. It's the biggest spot now for a 4-timer to come back in this game. Taking a bit of a hit in terms of equity, but I've just played Charm just to block this spot. But doesn't really do enough because he actually has a bingo that plays, and he has Valiance as a bingo here. So that fits. Doesn't quite block it. But not only does it do that, it actually now opens up the board in ways that I don't really want to happen. Luckily, I draw the Z in the blank, but the letters left now, you can see, are actually really good. And I'm only 56 points in front. There are 9 tiles in the bag. And I'm in a bit of a weird spot now that I don't have a bingo playable. I do have the blank at least and the Z. But I'm not guaranteed to win this game still. He's phonied on the first move, and he phonied on move 8, but I'm still not out of the woods yet. And also that I've bingoed 4 times already as well. So I'm like, what do I need to do to win this game? But the important thing here is that there are 9 tiles in the bag. I don't want him bingoing twice. And I want to get rid of this Z, so I just simply played Sits here for 39, which is my best play. And then after a bit of thinking from his side, he ends up playing ER underneath Rock for 21, and I have this rack now. So my rack is not looking in bad shape. I figure that if he doesn't have a bingo, he's probably going to leave these bingo lanes open for me. And it kind of played into my hands here. I do have a bingo here. So a plantain has an anagram. Oh, that is planant. Through the N of Valiance. So I have that for 72. So I do that. And then quite simply, he actually out bingos here with Outsider. So it's a good thing I actually did have a bingo at the end there. And that was the final score. I have 566 to a Kegaman's 502. Again, a lot of bingos played here. And again, this is a game that, you know, where we're both 50-50 in terms of wins. And these games are still showing up. You know, midway through the pack of this tournament. So again, it shows how strong the level of play is in this division. So with that, I end up going up to 16 wins, 16 and 15, plus 722. And then I'm now playing against someone I've not played for like 20 years. Singaporean player Liu Canboon. So we're actually going to go through this game also because it's another banger. And this actually I will be honest, this is going to be the last game I'm going to go through. So let's do that. Another very interesting game here to start day 4. Alright, so let's reset this. I'm going first. I have this rack. Did you remember that you had played before? Yeah, so we actually played in the very first World Youth Scrabble Championships. So this is the World Youth Scrabble Championships that was that Madhav is the champion of right now, and myself, Liu Canboon, David Elder, Causeway Bin, we all played in the first ever event in 2006. That was held in Australia. So yeah, he remembers, he knows. So yeah, we go back a long way. And I guess now we're all kind of like old men now, compared to some of these people in the division. Okay, so this is my first rack here. I'm looking at this rack and I'm already see a bingo straight away, but I'm looking at other bingos. Or other things that I can play, but there actually is only one bingo here, and I do find it. Bori, making the blank an R, which is actually nice. Doesn't duplicate a floating tile. Best move. Next move, plays Fanny. That's 30 points. I play my next move, which is also the best play. Hoping for an S, floating for Gunstone or non-guess, but don't get it. I have Unto to play on the triple. And then he bingos with underneath Fanny with Ariette. Nice play there, 74 points. He now goes in front. I have this rack here, not particularly great at looking for like 4 timers through the O and the A. I didn't see anything, but I end up playing my best play here. That is Vang underneath the A of Ariette. Nothing too fancy, but it is the best play according to my condo. Toot was played by Liu. The next move. This is my next rack here. I don't have any bingos playable, so looking at playing something like Decal, but I end up playing Lead instead. And then he instantly plays Pled and Pom. So he's now slightly in front. And this is my next rack. I don't particularly draw particularly well, but I can easily get rid of those tiles that I just drew. So I'm going to play Wag and New for 26, which then plays straight into his hands. This is not a bingo at the next turn for him, but he ends up basically coming up with the worst possible thing that can play underneath Wag, and it's Quoth. Quoth here for 71 points. So he now moves up to about a bingo in front. The fortunate thing here is that I do have a bingo playable here, and I do find my highest scoring bingo of Declarer through the R onto the R of Bori, the blank R, 83 points, and then he plays KI underneath the Q. So now we're about level. And then I have this rack. I just drew into something here. Very lucky draw straight after the bingo. And I find my highest scoring play here onto the O of Unto, which is open side. 86 points. I did see Dispense as well. Kind of a weird spelling of Dispense, but but open side scores a bit more, so I did that instead. 86 points there. Then he plays another 2 tiles, hooking Quotha Quotha and Gal, which deceivingly scores very well, 26 points. And then I drew not bad here. A few letters here that you don't necessarily want, but we can get rid of those. We can work on that. I do have Icy here, which is what I played. 23 points underneath the K. Mainly just trying to block the M bingo lane there. Maybe I can bingo myself underneath KY. So then after that, then he ends up drawing into the really nice Davidias. I actually would have thought that his tiles would be a bit better than this, but yeah, this is what he did. 95 points. And he goes in front. And then I actually have this rack, so I drew pretty well. I drew IRR. Not a bad time to have 2 R's on your rack, and I play through the A of Declare with Arrages, 4-timer for 86 points. Getting me back in front for the time being, but he ends up playing Enfelon underneath Kai for 90 points. So after all of that, we've played 9 moves each, and we're both in the mid 400s already, and we're going into the end game. So I'm thinking about what to do next here with this rack, because this rack is not good. I have this rack here, and there's only 6 tiles left, all of which on Liu Camboon's rack. Nothing left in the bag. So we're looking at what tiles or what things I can do and what my opponent can do, especially I'm 15 points behind. He's got the Z as well. So the most obvious spot here is to notice that the A of Arrages gives away the Z spot for my opponent. So my opponent can play something like Wiz or Riz above the A, which means that that is now #1 spot that I need to block. It is the easiest place for me to play something anyway, luckily for me. But the problem is that I only have 1 Vow, so I'm now looking for ways to go out in 2. And I actually don't think there is any way that I can do that. Which then puts me in a really bad spot. Because now I'm going to have to try and score my way to victory. And there are only really like a few moves that you should be thinking about. Is either to play onto this A here, and then maybe trying to do something with your X. But the most obvious play here is to play something like Josh above the A, doubling the J, and you actually don't give anything back with the J anyway. So just run this through the championship player on Quackle, and Josh is the best play here. He also by far scores the highest amount of points, and puts me about up by 40, which really puts a lot of scoreboard pressure on. Bearing in mind that Liu Camboon has about 13 minutes left. He's only used like half of his time so far, so I'm really going to have to think about what to do here. And yeah, I just played my best move. I had to play Josh. Kept BMX. I can't go out in 1 turn. I'm going to have to go out in 2 from here on out. And I just put the scoreboard pressure on. Let's just hope and see what happens next. So now I move up to 493. And now he has I'd say the relatively easy task, but he has the easy task of knowing that I can't go out. I have BMX. I can only play off my X really, or just play box through the O of Josh. Which then means that now, can he find a combination of moves that actually outruns me, or goes out in 2 to win the game? So what he ends up doing, he ends up playing Wiley here. He plays Wiley for 30 points. So he's now 9 points behind. I'm running out of time here, so I do play box. There's actually, I don't think was the best play, but I played box anyway here. So now I'm at 505. The problem with this, with Wiley, is that he actually cannot go out. So he's actually banking on scoring 2 big scores, and then he ends up playing Zay for 31. So now the score is 505 to 515, and I have the M in hand to play me on the other E on the board that triples the tile for 10 points. So I commit that, I'm done, and then I end up winning this game 5-17 to 5-15. So really interesting game here, where again another shootout. And again, I've shown you a lot of shootouts already in this tournament, and again with players that can score so heavily, this is not a surprise. But the other thing is that he actually could have won the game. So I'm gonna rewind to here. So this is his rack here, right? Point of view, and this is the score. He's now 39 points behind. We're looking at different ways that he can win. So he kind of has to play something down here because I have the X. I got an easy 25 points to play here. So that kind of rules out things like Wizzier, maybe that scores really well, but then you only have an L and you actually end up giving back 25 points with the X. So you actually kind of have to go down here. His idea of Wiley was a good one, trying to go at, scoring well twice. But the thing is, there's actually one way that he could win, and I noticed this at the time too. And I was just waiting for him to kind of pull the trigger on it. So let's press the championship player, and you can see that there are a few different ways to win. Actually, I don't think these are actually correct. But really the one that I'm really pointing at is actually this one, because he needs to block the X first. Like, you can't play real a liar here and then I'm gonna play, well actually I guess I could play the X there, then he can play Wex above it potentially. But Wiz is really the move that the more normal move that you would see here. So look, if he plays Wiz for 38, he ends up moving 1 point behind. So let's put that on the scoreboard. I'm also not in good shape here. I can't do too much. Box is going to be the same as playing either Axe or X. So I'm going to play Box. Then puts my score at 505. And then he has ILR and I have an M. So that's already giving him 6 points. He just needs 7 points. Sorry, he needs 8 points or more to win. And he can do that. So he has Durl for 10. Or if he doesn't see that, he has Real, Liar, or Ariel, all of which will win the game. So if he plays Durl, that's 10 points, plus the 6 on my rack, and then he will win by 3. So he actually could have won this game. Really good puzzle to end this, end that game, and there as well. And he also teaches kids as well in Singapore. So what he also did was that he took a picture of the end game and is going to quiz his students about it. So that's really cool for him to do.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you, Blue Valley, for the resub. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Again, if there's anyone else out there watching right now and enjoying the stream, please hit that follow button right now. It would be greatly appreciated. You could also join Blue Felly as a subscriber, especially if you have Amazon Prime and you have an Amazon Prime free sub, Twitch sub for the month. Then if you're not already using it, please consider subscribing to this channel. It would help this channel out a great deal too. So yeah, ends up being a 2-point win. Not with this endgame, but we end up winning by 2. And after a recount, it ended up standing. So we end up moving to 17 and 15. So let me actually just put this back the way it was. So Wiley, and then Box, and then I guess it doesn't really matter which one here, but we'll put that there, and then we'll do that. Okay, let's just update that score. So this is actually the correct score here. As I said, we're not going to go through any more games tonight, but just to kind of run through the rest of the tournament. So after this, I was 17-15 after my win against Liu Canboon. Game 33, I beat Sanhanat Klanying 472, 358, a big win there, up to 18-15 plus 838. And then game number 34, I play against Australian newcomer Josh Watt, who was actually leading, one of the leaders after the first day or two. I got very lucky here. He ended up getting 257 after I ended up blocking the entire board and frustrating him the whole entire time. So I win by 178, so I'm now 19-15 plus 1,016 spread. To round off 4 wins in a row on the final day. And then after lunch, game 35, the penultimate game against Como, a rematch there. I end up losing this game by 172, so 19-16 plus 844. And then round 36, the final round, is a rematch against Josh Watt. I got very lucky here. I ended up bingoing 6 times on my way to a 653, 382 win. A win of 271 points, so my spread ends up being 1,115 and a 20-16 record. Good enough for 20th place. Again, it's about as good as I could do at that point. So it was lucky and to finish on a high. And yeah, so that was my tournament. That was that. So yeah, I was actually seeded 31st for the event. So I've not been seeded 31st for a long time in any tournament, but yeah, that was a really cool tournament to be part of, and it was yeah, very enjoyable. Good to see a lot of some old faces and some new faces, and looking forward to the next one. So yeah, that's my kind of synopsis of Causeway Challenge 2026. And yeah, that's about all I have, really, to be honest with you. I hope you enjoyed the stream and some of the analysis that I had provided tonight. Again, looking forward to the next event that's going to be held in Genting Highlands in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, 2028. When is the next tourney? That's a good question. Well, I have actually just finished, well, I actually have this command, !A9NT for next tournaments. I'm actually playing in the Albany 4th of July event, the Boblin Superstars. That's my next tournament. Following from that, the next, it'll be 2 weeks after that actually, is the SPC 2026 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. That kind of rounds out my tournaments for the year, actually. I'll just be tournament directing on organizing the Metri, local Metri tournament in the end of September as well. So I won't be playing in that, but I'll be organizing that one for everyone. So I only have 2 more tournaments left, and they're both next month. So yeah, be looking to use that analysis, and hopefully we can get some more, get more wins under our belt for these big events and do better, I guess. So that's what we're hoping for. And a lot of very strong players playing in the Boblin Superstars next month as well. So, and I think that will be on the Let's Play Scrabble YouTube channel as well. Busy July, yes, definitely is, yeah. Bit of a flurry of events here, so yeah, looking forward to all of those things. But yeah, that's about it for my stream. I will also say that I'm actually not streaming on Tuesday, my next proposed stream date. I'm actually going to be away on a work trip, so I'm actually not going to be around. So my next stream will be on Thursday, in 7 days from now. I might end up just playing against the best bot some more and preparing a few more games against it, and maybe playing to a slightly longer time control or something. Maybe do a mini series or something like that. But yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably play against the bot a little bit, and hopefully I can do a smaller series that will allow me to think a bit more rather than a 10-minute timer. So we'll see. But yes, again, that is about all I have. I guess I hope you enjoyed it. Again, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button if you so wish. So yeah, hope to see you guys around in 7 days from now. Hopefully we'll be playing against the best bot in some capacity. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good evening and a good weekend. I'll be back around soon. The next thing I guess we have to do is to raid somebody. I guess if you were disappointed that I don't have any Infinity Words on the screen today, then I guess we can raid the Study K channel, which who are doing some JQC 8s. Oh no, sorry, JQC 3 to 8s, just random stuff with some big words in there, and some bingos as well. So all right, again, thank you very much. Yes, thank you, MPD Joseph. Thank you for tuning in as always. I hope to see you in next week as well. Yeah, that's about it. We're now looking forward to the future, looking forward to the tournaments in July, and preparing for those. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good weekend. Wait, I think the Study K was having issues with something, but hopefully it's fixed. Okay, I don't know if it's fixed or not, but well, I guess we'll soon find out. It's actually been they've actually been streaming for almost exactly 24 hours now, so hopefully it's been fixed. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I will be back on Thursday for some more games. So until then, hope you guys have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves, everyone. And good night.